podcast studios. This is After 9 with Scott and Kat.
Hey now.
Howdy, friends.
You threw out a howdy.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Welcome back to After 9, everyone. We took a long weekend, and doesn't it just figure? We figure, you know what, it's a Monday in July. If we take a day off, it's going to be minimally disruptive for our audience because there's never anything going on in July and half the people are on vacation anyway. Then wouldn't you know, the LCBO strike ramps up huge. An assassination attempt on the former president, Donald Trump. Bunch of celebrities died. Tim Hortons is now selling energy drinks. It's like we went into a parallel universe.
Like, what is happening here? Plus, on top of that, I had so many DMs from the podcast on Friday that maybe we'll be able to get into a little bit.
If you didn't hear Friday's pod, go back and listen to it. It was so much fun.
So many comments on that one. They loved it. So that was fun.
Okay, let's, oh boy. I got a lot, as I'm sure you can imagine. You probably did too. A lot of messages from people saying, oh my God, I wish there was a pod. I want to hear you talk about Trump. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about Trump coming up in a few minutes on After 9. Another programming note. Sandra Ziskin from Diamond and Diamond was supposed to be on today talking about a whole bunch of legal issues. She's not available. She's sick. So we're going to spend this episode dedicated to just a couple of different topics that I think are worthy of a little bit of a deeper dive. We'll do the dead celebrities in a few minutes, but we'll start with the LCBO. This strike is fascinating to me, Kat. Never before. It's almost like the public mood has changed because for a long time, there was a big push against privatization. No, you can't privatize things. You're just going to make your rich friends rich and blah, blah, blah. And people were, for a while there, very opposed to privatization. But slowly, as more and more things have been privatized and people saw that it worked, people are opening up to the idea. So Service Ontario is a great example. I don't even know if most people realize most of those Service Ontario offices are now privately operated. They set up a business, they hire staff, they do all those government functions and just send the profit to the government. That's a great example of how privatization can work. Now, the LCBO union, this is OPSU, they do not want any privatization in the liquor area. They want all alcohol sold and controlled by the government agency. And that's fine. If they want to feel that way, they can. It's just not going to work out that way for them. They're on strike, as everybody knows. They have been since July the 5th. July 5th, they walked out to try and prevent the government from doing something that they have a mandate to do. One of the things that I hear a lot right now is people saying things like, why is this government so obsessed with booze? Why is this government always talking about the science center and stupid stuff? Why don't we talk about healthcare and schools? I agree with you. But like I said last week, it's not the government that's talking about this. It's the people opposed to it that keep it in the news. If the LCBO hadn't got on strike, this would be a very normal week, maybe even a very optimistic week. The reason being that we're about to get more convenience. We're about to get more options. You won't need to go to an LCBO store if you want to pick up a six-pack of Dillon's Coolers. You won't need to go to the LCBO if you want to pick up a couple bottles of wine and some White Claws. You'll be able to get it at the store when you're doing your other groceries. And that's the kind of convenience that the entire world has that Ontario doesn't. And we're about to make the change. The government promised during the last campaign that they would do that. They were elected with a majority. That means they have a mandate to do it. So they've done it. And people just cannot let go. It's almost like government makes a decision. Government goes to put the decision into practice. And then these people come out of the woodwork falling all over the grave, say, oh my God, this is a travesty. You can't do that. I don't understand why we have to be so fighty about this. This is settled. We had an election over this. It was going to be that alcohol, specifically the premixed cocktails and shit, can be sold in grocery stores and convenience stores. The government is doing it. I really don't understand what the LCBO is on strike about. And frankly, a lot of their members don't either. I got a lot of DMs from people that are part of that union that also cannot tell me why they're on strike now. They'll say, oh, it's to stop the coolers from being sold in the grocery stores. It's not going to change.
Well, and here's the thing is it did dawn on me that one of the reasons why they brought it up, because at first I thought this sounds like this is a big FU, right? Like this is it's going to happen. So here we go. But it happening sooner may actually help the strike situation, because if it happens, those who are still opposed to it and think we have a chance, which I don't know why in God's fucking green earth you'd think you have a chance to stop it at this stage. But that's for the people who are screaming, I don't want it to happen, I don't want it to happen. So now we are fast tracking it. Now it's going to be in play pending them even being able to get supply, by the way, because that's a question I have. But now it's actually happening. So now you can't even argue that because it's already happening. They're not going to reverse course, let alone they've already changed the date for it and brought it up. But my question too is, with the amount of people that are able to now sell it, will they be able to even get product? Because I'm hearing all kinds, like those who are hardcore are going to block distribution from getting to those locations. I don't know if they mean at the source.
Yeah.
I assume that's what they mean at the distribution center for the LCBO, which, do we know where that is, by the way? Do you know where that is?
There's a number of them.
Okay, so and let's
biggest
say
one's in Mississauga.
Let's say that they go to Mississauga or any of them, whatever, it doesn't matter. Would they even be able to do that? I don't know. What would that look like? I don't know. Do they care enough to do it? Like, it's already happening.
Yeah, I think the union has given their members a lot of false hope. And right back to the beginning of this strike, I'll say it again, I think the union has greatly misled their members about why they're on strike. They wanted this to make it, every time they can create a big fuss and make it seem like people are angry at the government, they consider that a win. And they might even get a couple extra bucks an hour out of it or something like that. In this case, I think they kind of misread the room because the vast majority of people that I see are okay with having this kind of choice and this kind of flexibility in where you buy what you buy. The LCBO, and for those who don't know, by the way, the update is they were supposed to open up this coming weekend for a couple hours, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, at 30 different locations across Ontario, so people could go in and get the basics. You know, if you need a bottle of tequila, if you need some Campari, whatever it is, you can go in and get it and be on your way. They announced yesterday, no, we're not doing it. Okay, well then you've really left the government with no choice. It was supposed to be August 1st. They began selling the premixed cocktails in grocery stores, and then in September, the convenience stores can join in. But because the LCBO is still on strike, because they canceled the upcoming shopping event this coming weekend, the government said, all right, fine. Just let the grocery stores that have got supply or that can get supply in on time start selling as of this Thursday. As of this Thursday, it's going to be a pretty monumental day. I still remember the day that they made beer available in grocery stores, and it felt weird because all my life I had to go to the beer store to get beer, and you had to go to the liquor store to get liquor. When it started being available in grocery stores, it was a strange one. It was almost like when they introduced Sunday shopping. For the first few years of my life, stores were mandated to close on Sundays.
Really?
And when they brought in Sunday shopping, it was a big deal to be able to wander out and go into a store on a Sunday. I have a feeling it's going to be not quite the same, but similar this Thursday when you can go into Walmart and get yourself a 12-pack of Smirnoff Ices or pre-mixed Jack and Cokes or whatever.
Yeah, it's just basically everything but the spirits.
You won't be able to get a bottle of vodka, a bottle of tequila.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it goes on Thursday and how many stores are ready for it. And by that, I mean have the stock. Because, I mean, yes, they could be ready, but doesn't mean that they're going to actually have the product for it. I went into one of the LCBO convenient locations. I was in...
the agency ones?
I didn't happen upon New Dundee, but I went that direction. New Dundee. Shout out to New Dundee.
New Dundee,
cute little
old
town.
LCBO.
Cute little town. But I thought about the people who live there when I went in there. Because I went in there just to see what they had. And it was ransacked. I mean, there was stuff. There was absolutely stuff. And they had a good quantity of, you know, your typical, I guess the typical like Ontario stuff was there, right? You're not going to get the shit you get in vintages section in LCBO. But there was like the odds and ends. And beer, odds and ends again. Which you can get, again, at other locations right now, at other places, like a grocery store. But I wondered about the people who live in that small town, in those small towns in general. I also passed the one in Ayr at one point this weekend. And I thought, do they fucking hate everybody? These big city people, I'm using air quotes, but the big city people who are coming into your quaint, adorable town, your convenient shop, because you got the booze, and see if you have any booze. I always wondered that. But it was ransacked, like just taken. I don't know if anyone has enough product to even sell soon enough, though. So I feel like they're doing something. I just know for a fact that it's not enough for them to change anything, unfortunately for them.
Well, back to this government liquor monopoly that the LCBO is, maybe you don't realize that when Walmart and Superstore and Metro and all these places start selling alcohol, they've still got to buy it from the LCBO. The LCBO is the one and only authority in Ontario. So to your point earlier, if somebody at the LCBO thinks, I don't like that they're going to sell coolers there, yeah, they could very, very easily screw this up for the grocery stores who are expecting a shipment so that they can start selling on Thursday. I hope it goes smoothly. I just want to try and appeal to everybody's sensibilities here. Whether you do or don't want alcohol available in more places, it's going to happen. Nothing is going to change that. It's going to start now on Thursday. They might even move it up to tomorrow if the union keeps going like this. And it's not about union breaking. It's not about being anti-labor. The government said they would do it. They're doing it. And we don't often see governments do what they say they're going to do. So they said they would do it. They're doing it. That should have been the end of it. This strike is completely unnecessary, and I feel bad for the people who work at the LCBO. You've been let out on strike now for 10 days, 11 days. You've been marching around in the worst weather we have ever had in the history of July. We've already had a month's worth of rain, and it's halfway through the month. Yeah. So you've been out picketing through that. What you're picketing over is not going to change. I really think you, as a member of that union, need to start telling your union bosses, get back to the table, sit down with the government, work out a deal that gets us something to save face here. Because I think that's what the unions try to do too, is save face. It's almost like they didn't believe Ford when Ford said it's not negotiable. We're not changing it. We're doing it. It's like they didn't believe him. Now I think they believe him, and they're trying to figure out where the off-ramp here is. And I'm worried that this strike is going to go on longer than it needs to. If you're a member of the union, I really hope that your union membership answers your questions like, why did we go on this strike? Why are you living off of strike pay right now? It's frustrating because you know it's not going to change. As far as pay increases and benefits and such go, well, that's another thing that's going to be a topic when they actually do start talking, because I think most Ontarians don't love the great big machine that is the LCBO. And they're going to start asking themselves questions like, how much should a retail worker be paid? And for the vast majority of employees at the LCBO, the ones that are stocking shelves or running the checkout or something like that, I mean, other people do that comparable job at Dollarama, at grocery stores, at convenience stores, at malls and such.
That are not run by the government.
And they're not getting big pensions. They're not getting big, massive pay raises, getting paid $30 an hour to stock those shelves and ring in stuff. So, at some point, we're going to have to realize the limitations of an LCBO job. And the limitations are, you're not going to get wealthy doing it. It's a good job, and it's probably a fairly stable job. I don't think you need to worry about that. I think you have to worry about the ceiling that you've hit as far as salary is concerned, because it's only going to go so high. There's only so much money that the average taxpayer is willing to fork out for somebody to ring somebody through and stock wine on shelves and things like that. The other limitation is you can't control government policy. The government made a decision. It's going ahead. And I just think that you guys are out on strike for nothing right now. Yeah. The people are being inconvenienced. You're losing money. I hope they find a way to resolve it. Speaking of the rain, by the way, this isn't normal. In the last 7 days, I've got a weather station on my house where I can see the wind speed and how much rain we've had and the humidity and the UV index and all that sort of shit. We've had 125 millimeters of rain at my place in 8 days. Yeah. 125 millimeters, and I haven't looked for today, but I'm going to guess we're probably going to tack another 20 millimeters onto that.
It's going to be a very busy day again today. It already has been, I'm sure, for those who are emergency on-site people, plumbers especially. I mean, it's insanity. Yeah, it's a lot of rain.
People's basements are flooding. I've seen so many videos of water coming up from like where the sump pump is or where the drain is in the concrete floor. And this isn't normal. Why? Do you remember? You must. It wasn't that long ago, a typical summer, you'd see a couple rain days. As a golfer, I can tell you, I remember intimately, there's usually a couple of rain days throughout the summer where it just rains. And you know what? It's not thundering and lightning. It's not some massive cats and dogs downpour. It's just a rainy day. And that happens. We don't get those anymore. We're either getting no rain at all, or we are getting a torrential downpour in multiple waves, followed by humidity that makes it feel like the sun.
You know what it is? It's very reminiscent to me about being in the tropics. This is exactly
Yes.
what it's like. I mean, typically when you're there, wherever that might be in the Caribbean, for example, it's a lot of overnight, early morning, sometimes late night, but a lot of that. And it's not like it's a sprinkling through the day. It's torrential downpour for a couple of hours, and then it maybe goes away. I know this weekend was kind of filled with that. It was, what was it? Sunday was gorgeous. You woke up, sun was shining, it was a beautiful day, it was hot. And then suddenly the clouds came in. It was insanity.
Yeah.
And then you had I think it was the opposite. Was it the opposite the day before? It was like a bunch of rain and then it cleared up throughout the day. But yeah, there's definitely been a lot of it. This forecast for this week, is it looking like, I mean, it's going to clear up, and it's going to be, by the way, like some decent temperatures are coming up toward the end of the week. Decent for me for summer is like 24, 25, 26 degrees.
Yeah. Today is Tuesday. It's rain until later this afternoon, and it should clear up. Tonight and tomorrow morning, another thunderstorm risk. Thursday, Friday, sunshine, very, very little chance of rain. If we get rain tomorrow, because we did today, and then it does turn out to be dry for Thursday and Friday, be like 11 straight days of rain.
Jeez.
It's not normal, and I can't figure out what the hell is going on. This is nothing like a typical summer that we've seen.
I mean, at the same token, it's like, would you rather have, not that you have to choose one or the other, or you even can choose one or the other, but I mean, we've had those summers that are like drought-worthy, totally dry, too dry. And those ones kind of scare me a little bit more, to be honest with you, than these ones do.
Lawns are looking good.
Yeah.
Gardens are growing well. That's all great. My pool, I've had to pump water out of it 3 times in the last week. I've had to pump water out. Mm-hmm. It's insanity because usually I'm pumping water in at this time of year. In any case, I don't know what's going on. It just doesn't feel right. We'll get to the Trump stuff in a minute. If you're one of those people who's waiting for that, stick around. First off, let's talk about a few other events from this weekend. We lost a couple of celebrities.
We lost a few, yeah. Now here for us, I know it was all about Dr. Sue. When we lost Dr. Sue, we talked about that. But Dr. Ruth, okay? Is anyone familiar with Dr. Ruth? You're familiar with Dr. Ruth.
Well, it's Dr. Ruth, and it was Sue Johansson, which was Talking Sex with Sue.
Correct.
She'd passed away. Now Dr. Ruth?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We lost a couple of sexperts over the past year is what I'm saying. So she passed. Richard Simmons passed away. And then we lost Shannon Doherty as well. Shannon Doherty was suffering from breast cancer, but I believe, like from what I hear, she had every reason to believe that she was doing okay. She, in fact, agreed to be a part of the podcast for was it the Charmed Rewind? I didn't watch Charmed, so I don't know. But I think it was a Charmed like Rewind kind of podcast. She had agreed to do it just recently. Like she's like, yeah, I'm in, guys, that kind of thing. So that tells me that it's not like she knew that she was, had her only a few remaining days at that point. What I find funny is she did finalize her divorce the day before she died.
Finalized her divorce and died the next day. Wow.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if there was an indication or not. We didn't really hear too much personally from there. When it comes to Richard Simmons, so Richard Simmons was at his home, 76th birthday. He fell in the kitchen. This is what we're hearing now. And his housekeeper was there at the time and said, whoa, something's not right here. Go to the hospital. And he's like, I'm not spending my birthday in the hospital. I'm going to lay down. And if I feel better tomorrow, I'll go then. Well, he died at some point overnight, found the next morning laying beside the bed.
Okay. So what I'm wondering about that was he dying and he fell because his body was too weak? Was the fall what caused his death? Or is it just a weird coincidence? Because when you hear that, oh, you should go to the hospital. No, I want to stay home. And then you wake up dead the next morning.
No, you don't.
He didn't wake up, but you know what I mean, though?
Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering is, are these connected in some way? And I don't know if we'll ever know that. But
yeah,
I'm not even sure if everybody knows who Richard Simmons is.
Yeah, that's true, too. You know what? I think there's so many specials. Just recently, Pauly Shore did a movie about Richard Simmons. It was a short movie, but he was a lot of people gave him shit for it, by the way. Pauly Shore did not get Richard Simmons' permission to play Richard Simmons. But if you picture Pauly Shore, he kind of looks like him. Richard Simmons was like health and fitness. I don't know, would you call him a guru? Like, what would you call him? Like, for a lot of people, he was like the guy. But he had a different way of doing things. It was not what you typically see when it came to workout videos. It wasn't like your Jane Fondas and all the other things. He was eclectic, eccentric. Like, how would you describe him? He's flamboyant and does things a different way.
It was like it was very much an 80s inspired around the house kind of workout. So it used to be, maybe your mom still got some of the old Jane Fonda tapes where she lays on the rug and starts lifting her legs and the scissors kicks and stuff like that. That was the Jane Fonda stuff. It was almost sort of yoga inspired. Yeah. Richard Simmons was very much like, okay, everybody grab a can. We're going to lift cans of beans and we're going to use those like weights. Right. Okay, everybody. 2, 3, 4, and 5.
It was like a DIY of workout.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
But people really
remember to shake your tush when you run.
Yeah, and he didn't care about form as much, right? It wasn't really about like, this is how many reps you have to do. This is how you do it properly. It was more like a move your body. That was his phrase, was like, just move, keep your body moving, no matter how big your body is or small your body is. Every body is beautiful, blah, 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 blah. So he did have quite the cult following, I guess I'd say, for a long time. And then he went away. He went quiet. He went dark. And we had heard from his family members that basically he wanted to just leave the Hollywood spotlight. He wasn't interested in being a part of that anymore. This was many, many years ago, obviously. So more recently, his brother actually put a post out on X saying, please don't be sad about my brother's death. He was so happy to be a part of every one of your lives, et cetera, which kind of made some people feel better. When it comes to his death and what really happened, we will find out. There is an autopsy that will be done because they are not sure. And I think the family wants a little bit of closure, as they do. Will they release it when it comes out in a few months? I don't know.
Couple other things. Alec Baldwin off the hook on a technicality.
Yeah. This whole thing was
should have never been in court anyway.
Colossal waste of time. The whole thing was a colossal waste of time. And he probably, even if they went through with it and they had some I don't even want to call it sufficient evidence, because I don't think any of that sufficient evidence would even be, he's not at fault, in my opinion. He's not at fault for the whole thing that went down. But nonetheless, yes, the judge did decide to agree to the motion to dismiss from his team. And it was because the prosecutors were hiding some evidence and didn't let them look at it. And technicality, like you said, basically that's what it came down to. But the truth is he shouldn't have been there in the first place.
So almost the exact same thing happened the next day with the Donald Trump classified documents case. It kind of got overshadowed because the president got shot, but they threw that case out too.
They did.
This was the one where the legal experts thought if they're going to get him on anything, they'll get him on the classified records, because there's still some who really, really want Donald Trump either dead or in jail. And this one they were hoping was going to stick in that he'd be in a lot of trouble, because there's no denying he had the documents. You can argue about whether or not he should have or shouldn't have, whether he was allowed or not allowed, but he did have the documents, and I think a lot of people thought it would be open and shut. It again, though, thrown out basically because of corruption by a prosecutor. Mm-hmm. Why do they have such a problem with prosecutors in America?
They do seem to.
They've got more lawyers per capita than any other country on earth. And these are the people that got prosecutor jobs?
I know.
That's 2 high-profile cases in one weekend that got thrown out.
Yeah, it doesn't really seem right. Thankfully, the judge has a head on her shoulders and was like, okay, bye. Yeah, this is great. Don't waste my time.
Tim Hortons has introduced a new addition to their menu. The new Infuser energy beverages are reportedly, I'm saying reportedly because I personally haven't read the label myself, made with natural caffeine and natural flavors served in ready-to-drink cans. The first 2 new flavors are blackberry yuzu and mango starfruit. Tomorrow is Tim Hortons Camp Day, Wednesday.
Okay.
Why is Tim's getting into the energy drink business? What's next? Are you going to get a Red Bull there? I'm not quite sure.
Caffeine. I mean, I get it. Sure. And they like the ready-to-drink stuff. They already have products on the shelves in grocery stores. They already have their soups, and they do have, do they have a cold brew, or is that just Starbucks that has the cold brew on the shelf?
Good question. Can I tell you, I don't even go to Tim's anymore. I don't.
No?
I mean, if completely out of options, yeah, I will, but McDonald's lowering their prices won me back.
Yeah, that was a good move.
I hadn't bought a drive-through coffee in ages, but at those prices, I can live with a $1.50 or $1.25 or whatever it is for a medium. That's just fine. For
me, so Tim Hortons has always been a part of all of us, right, as Canadians. But we all know it was very much taken over by an American company, right? And you can kind of see it seeping through in a lot of cases. They still do wonderful things here. I'm not poo-pooing on Tim Hortons because I think they're great. They employ so many people, and they do. The Tim Hortons camp is an incredible, incredible thing to definitely put your money towards, in my opinion. Sure. You should absolutely buy something from Tim Hortons tomorrow for Camp Day. You should absolutely help those kids go to camp. All the things that they say about Tim Hortons camps are absolutely true. And I remember I knew someone growing up anyway that went there. And it was life-changing for them at the time. They said because they had gone through a lot in their life, and that was a very, very much a highlight. So I still say we got to support that for sure. But I hear what you mean, like the energy drink thing. I don't know. For me, it's just like I just pass it by. I'm not interested.
Okay.
I like the coffee though. I still like the coffee.
Just do a quick sports here. What the hell is going on? Copa America final on Sunday. Argentina beat Colombia 1-0. To win the tournament. Congratulations, Argentina. That means the country that knocked Canada out went on to win the whole thing. And of course, Canada lost to Uruguay in penalties on Saturday, so Canada finishes fourth. But what they did, the Argentina fan, or maybe it was probably a mix of both fan bases, trying to get into the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami on Sunday, they damaged the shit out of this place. They just started pushing until they overwhelmed security, and then people flooded in. The game was almost an hour late because security completely lost control.
Wow.
And I don't know if this is a fan problem or a security problem. Some people are saying the Hard Rock Stadium should have been prepared. They should have known there was going to be large crowds. I mean, it's an NFL stadium. The Dolphins play there. They deal with large crowds every week, half the year. I've never seen that many people without a ticket trying to force their way into a stadium to watch a game.
That's outrageous.
Completely messed up, and amazing that more people were not hurt. Go ahead.
Speaking of tickets to things, I do want to mention too, because I had so many DMs from people who caught it. Sean Kingston couldn't cross the damn border.
Oh, Rock the Park this
weekend?
weekend?
But I mean, how? Like, in my opinion, I know, like, it's people say, oh, I'll be fine. But there's no, like, reassurances for those kinds of things, is there? There's no, like, pre-checks, no pre-screens. You can't be pre-approved. I don't think that's a thing. But he didn't end up going through.
Okay, so I hear about stories like this a decent amount because a lot of the artists from America that would like to do shows in Canada, many of them have a criminal record.
Yeah.
And if you or I has a criminal record for some of the shit some of these people have done, we would not be allowed to cross the border. However, some of them are allowed to cross the border. You just need to make special arrangements, and the government needs to know where you are and where you'll be, what you're making to be here, and of course, they'll want to see you leave as well. How could they not come to some sort of an arrangement with Sean Kingston? I get it. He's facing some charges in the States over an expensive, but still, it was just a TV. Stole a TV or took it and didn't pay for it. Why did nobody phone up to the border there and say, hey, listen, coming into town for a show with Sean Kingston. He's in the news, not convicted, but there's some accusations against him or some charges.
He's charged, yeah.
Are you going to allow him to come into Canada? And if the answer is no, the answer is no. Why would you even wait until you got to the border to figure this out?
Well, it's two-tier, too. You have to have your people letting you out and then another country allowing you in. So two of two have to work. Not one of two, two of two.
But if he intended to come to Canada, I have to think that he didn't have his passport seized or anything when he was charged, and he was allowed to travel for work. That's the other thing. It's their job, and there's very few restrictions that you can place on somebody that prevent them from earning an income. And in Sean Kingston's case, I just feel like we probably should have found out sooner than the day of the concert. He's not going to be able to make it.
Okay, so remind me, remember when we were going to have Chris Brown at a concert?
Yes.
At one of our radio stations? Did that have to do with it? Is that he wasn't allowed in?
So in that case...
It was a little different.
In that case, the show got canceled. Maybe it was a lack of interest. I don't know.
It might have been a lack of interest, but I do know that this has happened before. Like, countless. You're right. Like, I mean, you have a criminal... I feel like anyone who has a criminal record or is recently charged will fucking never get let in. They don't care who you are.
But there are some of them, like some of the concerts that go on in Toronto, for example, involve some pretty high-profile criminals that were accused of and or even convicted of some shit. If they make an arrangement with the border and they've got, maybe they'll say, okay, you know what? Yeah, I'm a shithead, but I need to come in and do this concert. I'll pay $10,000 for you to have CBSA and police follow me around to make sure I'm not doing anything wrong, and I will leave right after the show. Like, there's deals and accommodations that can be made. I just don't think you wait until you get to the border to figure it out. It seems strange to me.
I know. I don't know what the process is. By all means, if anyone who works at the border crossing and knows a little bit more about it, feel free to DM us and let us know. But it was just hilarious, the amount of people who messaged me his story saying, sorry, London. And it did suck for people who went for that reason. But thankfully, there was a stellar lineup that night anyway. So there's a lot of good acts.
Okay, here we go.
If you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
That was the last shot.
Wow.
Saturday, I was at a football game when I got a text message from a dear friend of mine, and all the message said was, they shot Trump. They shot Trump. And I thought,
They.
I don't know, maybe he was in a hurry. He's got a pretty high profile job too.
him.
So I don't know if he was referencing someone specifically or a group specifically or just in general. They shot Trump. And I didn't know at the time if he was alive or dead, but holy cow, Kat, I was hauling ass to get home and get that TV on. You're probably too young, and I don't mean to put it like in a bad way, but you probably don't remember when Ronald Reagan was shot as president, do you?
When did that happen?
It was in the early 80s.
Yeah, I wasn't even born.
Okay, well, fuck, I am older than you, right? I was very, very young at the time too, but this is the closest connection that I have to this, what happened on the weekend, because I don't really have a meaningful recollection of Ronald Reagan being shot when he was president. But Ronald Reagan is still to this day considered one of the greatest presidents in American history. He was one that Democrats and Republicans loved. He was a Republican president, and he was just generally a good guy. I can't say enough great things about him. And I remember not that he got shot, but I remember my parents when he got shot, because they were also quite young at the time, and they were thinking to themselves, oh my God, we're going to go to nuclear war. Somebody shot the president. And it was a huge moment. I mean, people were very, very emotional about what happened there. And I remember when I heard on Saturday that Trump got shot, instinctively in my head, I thought, oh shit, this isn't good. Not because the president got shot. I thought this isn't good because now it's going to be a civil war. I thought for sure it has gotten so polarized that there's going to be a civil war. And it's going to be not red states versus blue states. It's going to be left versus right. And the book's not finished being written yet. Good to the people who are saying things like, we need to turn down the rhetoric surrounding the upcoming elections in Canada and the U.S. in particular, because it is getting ugly. And out of all the U.S. experts that I saw in the news this weekend trying to explain that we need to dial down the rhetoric, I thought the best explanation of what that means came from Canada, the Premier of Alberta, Danielle Smith. Here's just a little bit of what she had to say on the weekend.
I think everybody's very concerned. When you see an attempted assassination and that kind of political violence, it's unacceptable. And I'm glad that we're beginning to see that they've recognized that things have gone too far. The way in which conservative politicians have been characterized is outrageous. And that is, I think, led to the culture that we've seen in the U.S. And I certainly hope that some of the progressive politicians here are careful of their language, because they've been talking about conservative politicians in the same way, and they need to dial it down. Like what? Have you not looked at the headlines about how Pierre Poilievre is described as dangerous? How the leader of the opposition in Alberta has described me as dangerous? When you start using that kind of rhetoric, that ends up creating an elevated risk for all of us. And I think we have to be very mindful that we can have a disagreement in politics, but we have to stick to the issues.
Really, really, really well said. You know, when you get people that don't like Donald Trump comparing him to Hitler, when you get the president of the United States calling Donald Trump a threat to democracy, and they're doing it in Canada too, they're saying the same thing about conservative politicians here, that amps up the rhetoric. If you're a citizen, a voter, and your government is telling you this guy wants to take over and he's going to take away your rights and he's going to take away democracy and he's going to do this and do that, it's almost amazing this didn't happen sooner. For me, total 1 in a bazillion chance that guy only took off Trump's ear. It's the top part of his ear, as I understand it, that got shot off. He was close. He was 140-something yards away from the president from an elevated position, and he had a high-powered rifle. I have a similar rifle to what this guy has, and while all the sharpshooters that are on TV right now are saying things like, oh boy, at 150 feet, you can't miss. That's the minimum standard to join the military. You have to be able to make a shot from like 100 and something yards out. It's not that easy. I do target practice a fair bit. If you want to know how hard it is to shoot, what you should do is go to Urban Tactical in Brantford or any of the you can shoot guns range type places that are around here. Try and shoot. You might not hit that target from 10 feet away, let alone 150 yards. So this guy had a pretty good gun. He must have had a great scope. But the question is, how did the guy who shot Trump manage to pull this off?
How'd he get there?
With the FBI,
yes.
Pennsylvania police, state police, and local police, and the Secret Service. How did he get up? Well, we now know because everything is coming out. 26 minutes before he fired that shot that hit Donald Trump almost in the head. It could have killed him. It was a millimeter away from from killing him.
Yeah. He turned his head, by the way. Well, I don't know this for a fact, but I know people were saying that in the video right before he turned his head very slightly. And if he hadn't turned his head very slightly, that's where it probably would have gone into the skull.
Yeah.
Like whether it would have whether he would have been killed or not, I don't know. But it's crazy.
One thing I'm not sure about before I talk about how this guy managed to get there is I saw a lot of pictures online from people that believe he was actually shot twice. The president, when he's out in public, wears a bulletproof vest. And if you zoom in on a couple of the pictures, you can see a hole in his jacket. And I don't think Trump's the kind of guy to walk around in a suit that has a hole in it. So there may have been another shot. I don't know for sure. But either way, the fact that this guy got within range of the president of the United States in one of the most former and possibly future. He's now officially the nominee for the Republicans. Yeah. The fact that he was able to get that close and get a clean shot with a sniper looking right at him.
It's crazy.
Is mind-boggling to me. Now, the sniper, I think it was Trump actually that leaked the news that he did an interview yesterday, and he said, the sniper did their job. One bullet right between the eyes, done. Good. Yeah, that's what we want our sharpshooters to do. The problem is they shouldn't have to be shooting people on a roof 150 yards away.
Yeah.
How did this guy climbed up there and people were telling law enforcement.
There's a guy on the roof.
He's got a gun.
Yeah.
And nobody did anything.
I'm confused by that. I mean, I know that everybody is. I know everybody is. And I know they're investigating and blah, blah, blah. But do we trust the investigation? Like, do we even trust this investigation into how the fuck this person got up there? What's Donald thinking? He hasn't made like a public speech yet. I know he did like a couple interviews. I know he was out yesterday doing whatever. He's going to wait till Thursday to actually do like a public address?
Yeah. So what happens is at the convention on day one, they officially nominate the nominees, which are Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. He's a senator from Ohio, young guy. He's only 39, but he's quite popular in the Republican Party. So they're the ticket. They're going to run against Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. For now, that might still change too. However, at the convention, they bring in a ton of different speakers. They talk about all kinds of different things. It gets the base all riled up. It raises a lot of money. And then on the closing night of the convention, which is Thursday, the presidential nominee will come out and speak and send everybody home to knock on doors and stick signs on lawns and all that sort of shit. Well, when Donald Trump speaks on Thursday, it's going to be one of the most watched television events of the year.
I think so too.
Bar none. People want to hear what he has to say. And we haven't even gotten to Trump himself when he got shot, because I thought he handled that so incredibly, what's the word for it? Aware. I think aware is the word. To realize he was healthy enough to stand up, to see blood, but still feel okay to do the fist pump in the air. I thought it was amazing how he handled it. But just back to the shooter for a sec. This is a kid. He was using his dad's rifle. His dad knew he had the rifle. It's just the dad didn't know the kid was taking the rifle, not to the gun range, but to climb up that roof and take a shot at Trump. The investigation's underway, like you said. I don't see how it's even possible that this happened without some help from somebody. I just don't understand how this kid was able to be up there on that roof for that long with a gun, sniper aimed right at him. That sniper, as soon as shots started firing the sniper's way, he gasped, he took a step back, but then right back to his scope, and he took the guy out, one shot between the eyes. His gun was already aimed that way, though. You knew there was somebody on the roof. Police in the area knew there was somebody there. People in the crowd were chanting, he's got a gun. That guy over there, he's on the roof.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's video of it. I mean, you could see countless video online of people like watching the guy and go, well, someone, like, do something.
So in any other circumstance, when that starts to circulate, or when there's a report of a suspicious person and you lost track of him, that's part of what happened in that 26 minutes. Why on earth was Donald Trump allowed to go up on that stage and even start speaking when there's a potential security risk?
There's a lot of questions for sure. I'm glad nobody but the guy that shot at Trump died. Or no, so that's not true actually.
Oh no, there was people in the crowd that died.
That's right.
The dad.
That's right. The father. I remember seeing that now.
What he did. I mean, when those shots started ringing out, the fact that his first instinct was to cover his wife and daughter and make sure they were safe. And he took at least one to the head. I don't know if he was shot other times. I didn't hear the whole story, but
it's awful.
God damn it, is that ever sad? Just so sad. I mean, listen, everyone, we talk about democracy, right? And you've heard, threat to democracy. You've also heard a lot about election interference. This is a threat to democracy. This is election interference. They tried to take out the leading candidate right before an election. The fact that it took people days to admit it was an actual assassination attempt is crazy to me. So scary. But one thing I am going to say is amazing to me is this could have gone very, very differently. Like I said, when I got that text, they shot Trump, I thought America's going to burn down tonight. I thought people are going to grab their guns and they're going to go out into the streets and there's going to be riots, there's going to be looting, there's going to be that. And it was nothing like that. People were angry, but people held it together. They had their discussions online, maybe with family and friends. It was a Saturday night, so maybe there was some backyard gatherings going on, but it didn't turn into that chaotic mob scene that it very well could have and may well have had
something happened. Yeah.
Had the circumstances been different. So that's good. But there's still a lot of people that are worried here about what happened, how this was allowed to happen. Does Joe Biden get the same thing? Like, if Joe Biden were giving that speech and the Secret Service is there to protect him as well, could anyone have gotten 150 yards away with a rifle and a scope on a roof? Of course not. They would have taken him out. What was with that sniper that was aimed right at the guy? Clearly, he had a good shot. It only took him a couple of seconds to zero in and hit him right on the target, right between the eyes. Took his head half off. What was he doing before that? Was he waiting for authorization to shoot?
Yes, you have to wait for authorization to shoot. I know that much. But
if there's an imminent threat to the president, they're allowed to use deadly force
maybe
without
they didn't
authorization.
Know. And there's probably a lot of confusion there. I don't know if we'll ever. I guess we should, though. It's public record, right? Whatever they investigate, or is it?
I'm very confident now that with the people who are invested in this and interested in this, I think there's going to have to be a pretty thorough investigation because the other side is not going to just drop this one.
And nor should they. Nobody should.
The awareness of Donald Trump is incredible to me. He got hit. He grabbed his ear instinctively, like you would if somebody pinched you or something like that. He probably wouldn't have felt pain right away when that happened. You're probably in shock. And like you said, he just turned at the right moment. Another millimeter, and the guy could have been dead. To drop instinctively like he did. And then the Secret Service and the CIA or whoever it was, they jumped on top of Trump. In fact, they jumped on him so hard it knocked his shoe off. You can hear Trump when they're trying to take him off stage saying, "Let me get my shoes. Let me get my shoes." And I don't blame the guy. I mean, he was okay. He knew he was okay. But to be that aware, to realize what's going on, not just that he wanted to signal to the crowd that he was okay. You see injured athletes do that when they get carried off the field. Hand up to show you I'm okay.
Hands up, yeah.
That's not what Trump was doing. Trump knew right away, they made an attempt on my life. They're trying to take me out. I need to tell America to fight. If I don't make it, America needs to fight. And that's what he said. And to have that kind of presence of mind, that awareness in a situation like that, I thought it was great. Time magazine has already changed their cover to the picture of Trump. Whoever got that photo, by the way, is probably going to win a Pulitzer. They're probably going to win every award of the year.
Yeah.
The fact that you caught the president with his fist up in the air and a bloody face, Secret Service trying to carry him out, and an American flag in the background, they're already saying it's going to be one of the most iconic images of the century. It'll be in every history textbook going forward. And that's probably true. It was a really, really great moment. It showed strength when people were very confused. It showed strength when people were scared.
People are still confused, so we'll see. This story's still being written, I think.
Oh, absolutely. There's going to be a lot more to come in this. One more thing, and let's bring it back to Canada here to close it out. The Secret Service is on the hot seat to explain a lot about how this was allowed to happen. And many people might be wondering, well, what about here in Canada? Our public safety minister, Dominic LeBlanc, says the RCMP and CSIS have put, and I quote, additional vigilance measures in place since the assassination attempt on the former President Donald Trump. No operational details. That's fine. We don't need those.
I think that's what they need to keep those confident, don't they?
Operational details should remain a secret, especially now. LeBlanc says, though, he did exchange text messages with conservative leader Pierre Poilievre on Sunday to assure Poilievre that security measures are in place. It should be for all of our politicians. Let's make this really clear, because I am a little worried about retaliation here. I am.
Sure.
Political violence has no place in our political system. Like Danielle said 20 minutes ago here on the pod, we're allowed to disagree on politics, but we should talk that out. When someone wants to end a politician's life because they disagree with their politics, that's pretty scary. I would not want Donald Trump to be assassinated. I would not want Justin Trudeau assassinated. I don't want Joe Biden assassinated. I don't want Jagmeet Singh or Pierre Poilievre assassinated. None of them. That's got to stay out of this. It has to. I know that this election is deeply personal for a lot of people. There's a lot of people who remember what Trudeau did during COVID. They look around at the economy now and they're mad. You can send a message when you vote. The violence part of it's got to stay out of it. This is very, very
That's
concerning.
kindergarten shit, by the way. This is like, violence isn't the answer. When do we learn this? It's amazing to me that we have to fucking try to tell that to 40, 50-year-old fucking adults.
It's amazing how much Trump getting shot has galvanized his support, though. There was a lot of people who were on the fence. There were some Republicans who, doesn't really matter, they were going to vote for Trump anyway. I don't know if Trump getting shot is going to convince too many Democrats to vote Republican, but there were a lot of undecideds in America who saw that moment of strength where the guy just got shot and he stood back up, fist in the air, and they thought, this is a warrior, this is the guy I want as my president. Now, there's going to be a lot more twists and turns between now and when America votes, but either way, this probably did a lot for Trump's image and probably made a few of the undecideds a little more decided based on how he handled that. Thursday is going to be a different day. It's going to be a big one, and I can't wait. We get liquor at the grocery stores and Trump speaking for the first time since an assassination attempt. This is going to be a good one. You got to go, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
A Dutch company has created a fully electric 90-passenger plane that could fly 500 miles. Yeah, a fully electric plane. It is so quiet that you can actually hear the pilots whispering, I hope this works.
Despicable Me just set a box office record. It became the highest grossing animated franchise ever with $5 billion. All right? And that's just ticket sales. That doesn't include toys or Halloween costumes that make our dogs lose their will to live.
After a 40-year absence, lawmakers in Massachusetts have approved an amendment to bring back happy hour. Ooh. I don't care what anyone says, but if this law gets passed, people are going to start drinking in Boston.